Inside, a big page on page 10, it's illegal migration that drives the public nuts. People will look at this and say, is Boris Johnson back? Does he want to be back? I have to say, I don't know what you think. I mean, I have to say that I got the impression, looking at him yesterday, that he was kind of confirming that he's not coming back and he's not quite in the game anymore.
Yes, but I also think that he's kind of sick of being trash talked, as the kids say.
Yeah.
He didn't like, and it was clear he sort of physically bristled, these attacks from Nigel Farage, when they're sort of trying to paint him as the master of all Tory woes on immigration.
Yeah.
The Boris wave they keep talking about now, this sort of surge in immigration, and his defence was, well, it was post-COVID, we had shortages in all the markets. We can rehash the defence. You can listen to the defence on YouTube. What is telling though is the fact that the Reform feel the need to do this still. And I think there's no appetite there for Boris really to sort of re-enter the arena. He spoke very warmly about Kemi Badenoch, but there is clearly still a fear on the right that while Reform are in the ascendancy and they're ahead in the polls, Boris still has an appeal to the exact target voters that Reform are going for. Those people that perhaps voted Labour for a long time, then they voted for Brexit, then they voted for Boris in 2019. They're disappointed with the government, they're disappointed with the Tories, but Boris is the one that could, upset the Reform apple cart. So almost like sort of Van Helsing, they're sort of trying to drive a stake into Boris is down and out, but they just want to really make sure he's not coming back. And I think, the fact is that he felt the need, he's a former politician, if he's not interested in coming back, he could go and, don't know what he does all day, make loads of money, right? Writing books, making money, doing other stuff, helping Ukrainians. But the fact is, he did feel the need to do the interview yesterday, come back and actually say, you know what, hold on.
And he didn't like saying the words. He didn't like saying the word Reform.
That was amazing, wasn't it?
You have to tear that out of him. He didn't want to say the word Farage really at all, did he?
He kept saying this other party, this other party. I kept thinking, is he talking about Zara Sultana and Jerry Corbyn? What's this new part? And it was about a 45-minute interview in the end, wasn't it? And I think he said Reform twice, but he kept saying the refund, blah, 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 blah. And it's really psychologically really interesting to see. He's just really not. He's just him and Farage. They're not a million miles from each other politically. I don't think. Maybe they have big. On the economy, I think they're pretty similar. They've got big issues on immigration. What we saw really is actually Boris there basically admitting yesterday that last night in the interview that at the end of the day he's pretty liberal on this stuff.
Yeah.
He was saying that his defence of. His defence of multicultural London, his defence of immigration, saying, he was like, it's amazing. London's 40% foreign born, and I was like, and I kept saying to him, do you not realise that some people don't think that's good?
Right.
And it just didn't compute.
He doesn't see it. No. Let's have a couple of clips. This is him talking about his concerns about Nigel Farage.
My concerns, as I say, and they're serious concerns, are about the approach to the economy of the Reform Party and the approach on national security. And I think both of those will be severely tested in the years ahead, and people will actually want serious answers. And I think that the answers are going to be Conservative answers.
And I said to you last night, he says the answers will be Conservative answers. Interestingly enough, Simon Clarke was also there on the panel, who's very much a Boris sort of aficionado. And I said, the answers might be Conservative, but are the Conservative Party any longer Conservative? I'm not sure they are.
I thought you were going to chin him at one point last night.
Oh, we had a very friendly exchange afterwards.
I'm teasing.
I think you did it quite well.
It was a heated debate.
Yeah.
No, it was good, and thank you for coming on. Yes, the answers are Conservatives, but who are the Conservatives, and and that's what we've tried to get into really, is, well, actually, yes, there may be Conservative solutions to this country, but Reform of eating the Tories' breakfast.
Yeah.
No one's listening to the Conservative Party as a brand. It's a busted brand. He kept saying, it's the greatest political party in the world. It regenerates. Right. Yes, the Conservative Party does regenerate, but if you look back in history, going back to it's a bit early to get into the Corn Laws.
Yeah.
If you go back to the 1840s, the 1860s, the early 1900s, yes, the Conservative Party sort of Doctor Who style regenerates from generation to generation, but it takes a generation.
Yes.
They get an absolute tonking in the polls, and then they split, and then they re-merge as something else.
Yeah.
And that's the problem that I think that the Tories have got at the moment, is that No one's listening to them. They really need to go into a sort of deep dive and work out who they are. Kemi Badenoch's biggest problem, I think, is that when she was elected leader last year, her first thought was to immediately attack the government, go straight after Labour. But what she didn't do is that, and I think she should have done, is that realise actually her first fight was with reform. She had to establish dominance on the right and then attack the government. There's not going to be an election for 4 years. So she should have sorted her own backyard out before going after the government. And now you've got essentially a split right.
Yeah, and that's the problem. She's taken a long time to get around to stuff. He also addressed the whole business of free speech, which you asked him about as well. So have a look at that.
You know, you know what? I sort of think I've had enough of lectures from the United States about free speech.
Okay.
Okay? I mean, you know, I think we've got a problem in the UK. I think some of these people have been jailed for tweets. It's mad, and we shouldn't be doing it. But, you know, I think some, you know, good friends of the UK, J.D. Vance, for instance, are inviting us to look at the mote in our own eye without looking at the beam in their own, as the Bible says, right?
Where's the problems in America?
Well, I mean...
You free Jimmy Kimmel.
For heaven's sake, I mean, it's not too obvious.
That was a great exchange, actually, when you were talking about how, you know, some occasional politicians have complained about some of the things that you do. But he was making the point, well, they wouldn't take you off the air just because they didn't like what you said. I mean, hopefully not. But,
well, hopefully not. I mean, but if politicians got their way, I think they would have. And I did have an amusing exchange last night with one of Mr. Johnson's former spin doctors about that.
Yes.
I said, yeah, heaven forbid you would ever phone up at 11 o'clock at night and take umbrage with something written.
Never happened. Absolutely never happened. But so, what was your sort of your take on him as a general principle? Do you think he wants to come back at any point or not?
Look, we always get misty-eyed about what we can't have. The grass is always greener on the other side. You know, every journalist and political watcher has always harked back to a generation before. But I couldn't help think with Boris Johnson yesterday, in the same way as I couldn't help think a couple of weeks ago with Peter Mandelson. They are head and shoulders above some of the dross that are on the pitch right now. And I'm not just getting old and cynical, I don't think, because I'm not that old, but I am quite cynical. But you kind of think we need our big beast. We need our big beasts on the pitch. Yeah. And actually, disagree with him, love him, hate him, moan about cake forevermore, whatever. But it was interviewing a different class of politician to some of you do this job day in, day out. I don't have to tell you. Some of them are really rubbish.
There's not much coming
So whether you agree with him or not, he is, you know, and even if you disagree on immigration, he gave a pretty, you know where he's coming from, right? You know what he thinks. Yeah. And he's going to defend what he thinks. I thought he was really good on Ukraine. Yeah. I thought he was very calm, very considered, very thoughtful, very diplomatic in a way that sometimes he didn't used to be. Yeah, it's just, you just think, bring back the big piece, right?
Exactly right. I don't know if you've seen this, just before I let you go. Presidential Walk of Fame in the West Wing has been set up by Donald Trump. Have you seen it?
I've heard rumours.
And so he's got this long line. It's a bit like going to Turnberry, where they've got all the champions up there. And you go all the way along the line. You've got Bill Clinton there, you've got George Bush, you go into Barack Obama. It gets all the way up towards the Trump escapade. There's the first Trump. And then he's got Joe Biden as the auto pen. There's literally no picture of him. It's just a picture of an auto pen. And then back to Trump now. Brilliant.
It's just remarkable trolling, isn't it? I mean, he's installed the Patio Rose Club. He's put the Mar-a-Lago yellow umbrellas on the patio. He's building a ballroom. He's slowly leaving his mark on that building. Look, at the end of the day, look, his first term in office was pretty miserable, and there was endless questions about his legitimacy and whether he'd really won the election and whether the Russians had done it. There's no doubt now. You know, he is in the peak of his powers. You know, come the midterms, come later on in his term when he's on the way out, it'll all be about who's next. For the next 18 months or so, it looks like he's going to have to he's just going to enjoy it.
He is, absolutely right. One final one, Morgan McSweeney, still stuck in the mud, it would seem. I mean, I'm thinking he might be out of the door, mightn't he?
So this one is, you know, in my old job as political editor of the Sun, I'd be, you know, I'd have this bit between my teeth. I'd be right in the reeds of this one. My new job, obviously based in America, slightly stepped back from it. You know, when I was watching the Angela Rayner story unfold, from about 20 hours into it, I was like, she's done. She's toast. She's going. Yeah. Mandy was a bit more complicated. This one seems a bit... he said, she said, he said. But I think the problem for Morgan McSweeney will be if it starts to hinder in his day-to-day running of the
It'll
place.
be the old Alistair Campbell thing,
Does he basically say, I've had enough?
Yeah.
All right, I've had enough.
I'm a distraction.
Yeah,
All
or I just actually genuinely can't do my job because I'm firefighting all this.
Yeah.
I think his wriggle room on this one so far, and he'll probably resign in about 20 minutes, and I look like an idiot. Is that this is quite historic, and there already has been sanctions for it.
Yeah.
The Electoral Commission have already fined them for it. I think it'll be whether he just throws it down. But what I would say about Morgan McSweeney is, we've talked at length, Mike, over the years that Keir Starmer is pretty much a stuffed shirt. There's not much there. Morgan and Starmer and Morgan, that is the project.
Yeah.
Well, if he goes,
there's no project.
what else is there?
Exactly.
A boring technocratic lawyer.
Right. And then
So
he goes as well.
he is Keir Starmer's political. I don't know what I'm about to say there, but antennae. Should we
Yeah,
say.
he is.
He is the politics, and Burnham is circling, enemies are circling. I think the Prime Minister would be loath to lose his most able lieutenant.
Because then he'd have to go, and then I'd have a massive party and say, well, I was right all along, because I was the one that said he won't last the pace.
Jeremy Kyle has been bigging you up on that one.
Yeah, well, he's right. He's absolutely right to do so. Harry, great to see you. Back in America soon?
Yes, come and see us.
Yeah, I will. I will have to do that because I keep wanting to go and see Sebastian Gorka in the White House as well.
I'll do it.
We're going to make that happen.
We'll have a shandy.
We will. Absolutely right. Harry Cole, editor at large at Sun.